you are incredible with some of the stories you get. This is not like, oh, you just read an article and
Right.
No, it'll be like, yeah, so I was talking to this player's uncle who told me at his 7th birthday he did this. It's like, how do you get this stuff? Has that
It's
always...
because I'm a junkie, man. I think, that's kind of the A, B's, and C's of the job is we're glorified storytellers, right? But I think the genesis of that begins a lot of times in the summertime when I'm sitting in the gym in Miami and watching all the NBA players come through and speak to them, or here at our practice facility and watching the guys come through, or at Summer League for 10 days watching the players come through. And I always feel like if you're a play-by-play announcer and you're just telling me stuff I can get in the media guide, you're not quite doing enough. You've got to be able to take the player out of the jersey and tell the fan about his human experience, that player's human experience.
We are super excited to be sitting down with one of our favorite people. He is the voice of the Sacramento Kings, also covers the league nonstop, doing games for ESPN. The one and only Mark Jones.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks. This is going to be fun. I've been looking forward to it. And, 6 years I came to Sacramento, and you two were the first two to welcome me, and I've never forgotten that. It's been a great ride since.
We love having you here, man.
You're literally one of our favorite basketball sickos, and he is a basketball sicko.
Yeah, so take us back. When did you first fall in love with the game of basketball? Because I feel like that's the one thing. Not every person who does play-by-play for a team is like obsessed with that game. You are obsessed with basketball.
Yeah.
Your earliest memories of the game, what made you fall in love?
My older brother was going to a City of Toronto Parks and Recreation basketball night every Tuesday and Thursday that was run by this coach. His name was Saul Tenenbaum. My brother was about 9 or 8, and I was like 5. And one day I just followed him. I jumped in the car with my dad and followed my brother to the gym. And instead of pushing my little fire truck around on the gym floor, I ended up running in layups with my brother and learning how to do right, left, shoot. And then with the left hand, left, right, shoot. And over again. And I was probably about 6 years old when I followed my brother to McMurrick Public School gym on a Tuesday night, and fell in love with the game. Just had always been a big sports fan and watched basketball on television, but that was the first time that I actually started to learn formally how to dribble, pass, shoot, run up and down. And the great thing that I remember about the coach, Saul, was that he was a taxi driver in his spare time. Like this is a while ago. But he always took time out to teach the kids on those 2 nights because he had a basketball background, and he was real strict. If you even threw, I remember there was a couple guys that would come to the gym and hack around, and if you even tried to throw a behind the back pass or through the legs dribble, he'd kick you out of the gym for the night. You couldn't come back until next week. So yeah, it was a different time, but that's when I first fell in love with the game, and I still remember it.
Wow, all about the fundamentals. That's a good coach, especially. I mean, because now you got the kids checking up the threes right when they get to the gym. It's like, get close to the basket. I guess at a young age, then, if you started falling in love with the game, did you start falling in love with any NBA players as well, or was there any player that like stood out to you that was your guy growing up?
It was 2 guys, Randy Smith and Bob McAdoo of the old Buffalo Braves.
Wow.
Because growing up in Toronto at the time as a young kid, we got the Buffalo Braves games on our CBS affiliate that we would pick up in Toronto. So they'd be battling the Celtics all the time and battling the New York Knicks all the time. And, we'd watch Bob McAdoo shoot. Back then, they would have been 3-pointers. Now they're, back then they were just 2s, or now they'd be 3s, but back then they were long 2s. But we would watch those games on Channel 4, my brother and I and my dad, and go out the next day and try and emulate all the moves, on the basketball court, whether it was, in the middle of winter or at the gym on a Tuesday and Thursday night at McMurrick Public School. So Buffalo Braves were my first love.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they eventually became the Clippers.
Yeah. Moved to
San Diego.
San Diego Clippers. Then
Good knowledge.
Yeah. Then LA Clippers.
Try to show off a little bit,
No,
Mark, a little bit. Hey,
Braves.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the game is obviously so special to us, especially in Sacramento. It's a basketball town.
Sure.
What do you, when you like really try to take a step back and think about the game of basketball, what's your favorite thing about the game?
I love the competition. I love to see guys go at each other. I just live for those moments when it's a tight game and the guy on your team hits a big shot and ends it and sends the other team home brokenhearted. But it's just really the competition, the back and forth, the chatter, the contentiousness that sometimes comes along with it, and just fan bases too. Fan bases really kind of turn me on. When you're in an arena, especially, and you can feel the vibe. It's part of my favorite part of calling NBA games is walking to an arena when I can to just move along with the crowd a little bit if they're in unison, and kind of pick that up and take it to the microphone.
You like a little bit of drama.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I do.
No,
I
and
do,
I love
man.
that.
Yeah.
I love that because
Yeah.
I think you're so right. You're such a good storyteller. So I feel like there can be so much storytelling within that.
If you think about it, sports is, and NBA basketball in particular for me, is the highest form, the purest form of reality television. It's unscripted.
Yeah.
It's spontaneous. No two episodes are exactly alike. So, and it's real time. So, for me, there's nothing like it. And the reactions of the fans are always going to be different than they were the previous time too.
Oh yes. No,
Yeah.
so I started really loving reality television during the COVID days. Like I had to figure out something, and I was like, got into Real Housewives, and I was like, why do I like that? Do I like it because it's mindless? Do I like it because this? And it's like, no, because you're, as a human, like your stress levels and all these different things go up and down with it, but you also have a little bit of a detachment because it's not your family member. It's not that person. And so I think with basketball, it's kind of that same thing. You have that connection to the character, to the human, to the person, but also you have a few layers between it as well, and it allows you to enjoy it all.
Yeah, with sports, you take away one of those layers, I think, because it's your team, quote unquote. And when your team wins, the world is great. And when your team loses, we need anger management therapy. Because as a younger basketball fan, I mean, it used to dictate my feelings for the rest of the day, man. Like, I had cousins and relatives and myself, we'd throw things around in anger. Didn't know, there was no term for it back then. It was just like mom saying, hey, you can't do that. I know your team lost, but
I'm an adult and I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with losing sometimes,
Yeah, man. It's the emotional investment that is unparalleled, man. There's nothing like being invested in a sports team. And that's why, when I got the phone call 6 years ago with the offer to come here, after 28 years of being with ESPN and being a neutral observer, I finally became invested, and it's great. You sign up for heartbreak, but I love it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Just what's that been like? Obviously, coming at from a national perspective now, feeling the local side of it, where you're in a city, you have a relationship with the fans, you're surrounded, you're around the team all the time. Like, what's been like the biggest difference?
Yeah, it's leaving a game after you've called a national game and feeling, oh man, we had a good show. It was a great show. Versus leaving Golden One Center saying, oh, we had a great show, and man, we bust that. We bust there. Did you see Malik tonight? It's there's that extra layer of attachment, and it's nice to be able to ride that for the better and for the worse.
Well, and how nice is it though to be, let's say during the bad times, it's like there's a fan base here. Like you're in an NBA city and calling games for an NBA team that at least has a fan base that is so invested and loyal no matter what. I mean, that has to be something that if you were going to go from national to local, and it wasn't
It's
going to
the
be
best.
great all the time, at least you have that.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times like I'd go for my morning run, get halfway around the Capitol, and stop and end up speaking 35, 40 minutes with a fan about what happened in the game last night.
Yeah.
And for the rest of my run, I'm thinking, man, that was we got no, and then just keep running around, and it'll add time to my workout, just contemplating where the team is, where they need to go.
Yeah.
And those conversations are great. I love speaking with the fans, whether it's at Crepeville downtown, or whether it's the porch, or whether it's McCooney, or Echo and Rig after games. I think if you're an announcer and you don't have a visceral connection and reaction, then you're not doing it right. I live and die with the Kings. I do.
I know, and I feel that. I think we all do, and it's cool to see. Like, we're born here, so it's like different, But for you, being here 6 years now, it's like you're invested in this. Like you've felt the highs and lows throughout the time of being here. I was going to ask you too about the city. It's different too when you're just popping in, right? Like doing a national game for ESPN, you come into town maybe the day before, do the game, then you leave.
Right.
Being in it, has there been anything that surprised you about the city, like that you maybe didn't know about before?
So it's like, being a Miami, Florida native, and then coming here for the first time in 2020. Sarah and I, my wife, were working out in the morning in November, and we're like, "Hey, man, it's like 39 degrees, baby. You want to wait until it warms up a little bit?" There was no warm up. The warm up came in February, March, but that was a little bit of a surprise, because you think California, our perception had always been kind of a Southern California perception, but so it was a little chillier.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a shock to the system, but in terms of the fan base, it was even more rabid than I thought. Like, whether shopping at the mall, like I said, walking downtown. Sacramento is a little bit more of a tighter community than I initially thought it was. I think capital of California, big city. Having been here a few times for playoff games back in the 2000s and regular season games for ESPN, like you said, Deuce, you're in and out. But being able to, go to one of the restaurants downtown and sit down and, speak with people. I remember, I think it was the second year here, we were playing the Chicago Bulls, and it was after Alvin had taken over for Luke Walton. And it was the third quarter of a game, and we were headed towards like a 30-win season here, I think it was. And I took off my headset in the third quarter during a commercial, and I said to Katie, there's 17,000 people here.
Yep.
Do you know that if this was like Miami, where I used to be a season ticket holder, they'd be across the beach doing something differently?
Yeah.
These fans really, really rabid and zealots, and you have to treat every broadcast that way too.
It's special.
Yeah,
And it's so funny because, we also have like a lot of friends around the NBA, and we're always trying to sell Sacramento to them. And it's not just because we love it. It's because like we actually believe in so many things that are special about it, whether it's the fan base, whether it's different restaurants, farm to fork, the actual city.
Great food, underrated food city.
Yes.
Underrated food city. I buried the lead. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It is an underrated food city.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the charm of like, the history here and so many different things. And there's just so much to it. But I guess when I look at the fan base and how special it is, for you calling games and recognizing that every single time as a broadcaster, does that just like make you feel complete after every single game?
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to be able to, when times get tough, good games carry themselves, right? But when there are difficult broadcasts, I recalibrate at points during the show and say, hey, listen, you still got to tell that story about Dylan Cardwell. You got to let the fans know what's going on with him, or his journey and how he played with Jabari Smith Jr. and where he got this authentic excitement from, because I kind of consider myself a little bit of the curator of keeping that tie between the fans and the players, because I realize how sacred that bond is here in Sacramento. So it's a matter of, doing your homework and being around the players and shoot around and practice and getting to know them, and then asking other teams, players about our guys and getting a perspective on it too. And, the other thing that I really realized about Sacramento since being here is that it's a much better place than advertised.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's just that nationally, when I see where some of these publications rank the city itself, I'm like, yeah, you guys obviously haven't been here.
Throughout our time of knowing you, Mark Jones will just text us being like, I'm watching the G League broadcast of you guys. I love my Mark Jones voice that you guys are calling right now. It's a random Tuesday night. And I'm like, why are you watching 100%. This game? And he's like, you guys are doing a great job. And then on the broadcast, even a couple weeks ago, you're bringing up our conversation with Maxime Reynaud. And I'm like, only Mark Jones would go take the time to watch this, not only because he wants to support us, but because he wants to know about the players that you are calling the game for. And that is how you connect with people. That is how you are a junkie, because that is all you consume. And it's just, you're right. Not everyone does that. And it's just such a beautiful thing that you do. I don't know if it's a skill. I don't know if it's just like in you, whatever it is.
I just enjoy storytelling. I think it runs in my family. I'm from a family of talkers. My grandfather was an English teacher, writer. My father was, fluent in English and Latin and Spanish. And my brother is a former high school principal who works for the Toronto Raptors now. So when we get around the dinner table, it's a lot of gums bumping together. And that's part of it. Like you have to talk about the human condition with the players. Everybody can see the numbers, the points, rebounds, stats, analytics, whatever. But what is that player's why?
When did you realize you wanted to be a broadcaster?
Man, when York University was eliminated from the playoffs in basketball in college, and I was player of the game in the conference championship game, but my team lost, and I said to Mr. Watts, "Hey, Mr. Watts, I'm done. I'm a senior. Do you guys have any jobs up at TSN?" Yeah. And because TSN had broadcast our conference championship game. TSN is kind of Canada's version of ESPN still. And he said, "Young man, call me Monday morning at 9 a.m." And I called him at 8:59 a.m. And I went up for an internship, and I got the internship. I was making $35 a shift for a couple of years. But for me, I may as well have been making $35 million, because my job entailed watching NBA games on a monitor and logging highlights to write up highlight packages for the anchors that night. So I would be like watching games, Lakers and Suns late at night. Like, and you got to think about context. There's no league pass back then, right? It was the big space saucer satellite dishes back at the time. And I'm writing up these fire scripts for the anchors, and the bars were pretty good, like so-and-so stops, pop, and drops, and the Lakers win it. And I'm like, hey, that sounded really good. I think I want to do it myself. So I had a field reporter job for 2 years after that. They made me an anchor, and then in 1990, ESPN and ABC signed me, and I've been blessed. Seriously, I've been blessed in sports, man. Yeah, I've been blessed. Like I can remember Bryant Gumbel. I was the feature reporter for the Toronto Blue Jays. I did the Cito Gaston show, covering the Toronto Blue Jays, and a real tipping point for me was I went to the playoff game. It was the Oakland A's against I hope I'm not going too long here.
You're good.
It was the Oakland A's against the Toronto Blue Jays, ALCS. And I walk into the clubhouse, and there's like Dave Parker in his black leather suit and Jose Canseco. And I'm eyes this wide like saucers. And Bryant Gumbel is there. And I introduced myself to Bryant Gumbel. And I said, "Mr. Gumbel, my name's Mark Jones. I work at the local station TSN. I'm a news anchor, and I would just want to do big games like you someday." And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, "Young man, I watched your sportscast last night. You're ready right now." and you could have knocked me. Like I almost fainted. I got wobbly. I got really wobbly, but it was so inspiring. And that was an epiphany for me.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
really
what did that do for your confidence in that moment?
Big time, man. It's like you got Michael Jordan as your teammate telling you to shoot the ball, you know, and soon after that, I got myself some representation and put a demo tape together. And in June of 1990, I was hired by ESPN and ABC. Yeah. I don't even think Bryant Gumbel remembers that.
Really?
He may not. I don't mean that any type of way, but those words were inspiring to me. That's why I'm always careful with my words, you know. Psalm 18:21 says, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you have to be careful with your words. And as a broadcaster, as a journalist, you have to be very measured and muted sometimes with your words to make sure that you hit the right notes. You do your best. Nobody's perfect, but it's kind of one of my themes.
I see that's how you approach other broadcasters and people around us, like firsthand experience. Did that moment shape you for how you wanted to make sure to treat the next generation?
Yeah. I do my best to spend time with folks coming up in the business because I think about, you know, the Bryant Gumbels and people who've had encouraging words for me. Peter Watts, who offered me my first internship for $35 a shift. Were it not for people like that who are willing to help me, then I wouldn't be here sitting with you guys right now. So I think we have an obligation to help people who put the work in and want to achieve their dreams. And, you know, you can't help everybody, but you help who you can, you try. And it's a great business, man. It's an ever-changing landscape too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a lot different when I first got into it. It was ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox was just coming on the block, and ESPN was still in its infancy. And now it's a 500-channel universe. You got 1 million different stations. You make your own TV station.
Yeah. Yes, you can.
You know,
It's wild.
Be on the Deuce and Mo show someday.
The games evolved, content's evolved, all of it is wild. You know, you talk about getting that shot in 1990 with ESPN, but you've been doing this for a long, long time now. And, you know, I think people in this business can get jaded sometimes.
Yeah.
I've never felt that from you. So I guess my question is, what excites you every day for what you do?
I think being like a crazy sports fan has preserved me well and insulated me from a lot of the bureaucracy that happens around it sometimes.
Sure.
You know, you have to protect your joy with the travel schedule, with some of the things you have to go through. You guys know, just to get in front of the microphone at times. You know, there's a lot of layers to it, a lot of levels to it. You have to remember sometimes that you're doing something you love. And I think about my late father, Hugh Jones, who lived to be 93.
Wow.
And he got up and went to work every day as a purchaser at an airline. And he said, you don't always have to finish first. Just keep moving forward. You know? And I've never forgotten what he told me. And he just keep showing up and be joyful. Yeah. And have fun at what you do. Don't you can't let people steal your joy. And with social media and all the voices out there this year, I mean, in this time, you got to protect your serenity. It's a game, you know. It's a game. You have to learn how to laugh at yourself. That's something that a younger Mark Jones didn't do well enough, but I've gotten better at it. I can remember. Here's where I turned the corner. I was doing a sportscast one night. I think it was at ESPN, back in the late '90s with. It might have been even Linda Cohn or somebody, or Mike Tirico when he was still there. And I said, it was a Cubs highlight. And Ryan Sandberg takes it over the left field wall, and some guy's got a souvenir out there at Wrigley Field. Let's go to the top of the 7th, and Sandberg back up again. Hits it again over the right field wall. The same guy caught the baseball. He's got 2 balls. Oh, he should throw one back. And I caught myself in that moment thinking, oh, gosh. And I countered and said he should throw one back. And I laughed at myself.
Yeah.
And you've got to learn that you're not going to be perfect, but you try.
And especially during that time, I'm sure it's like you really want to be perfect.
Yeah,
And I'm so glad that you've given yourself grace over this time.
Yeah. You do your best, and you try and insulate yourself from some of the crazy voices out there. Like, you listen to people that you trust. Hey, Mark, I'm not sure that you should have hit that note right there and then. Maybe you want to wait a little bit later next time. If it's trusted voices, that's great. You know, people who have seen you and know enough about the industry, you trust them. If it's just ramblings and imbecilic prattle on social media,
just noise.
just noise.
Yeah.
Man, just noise.
Well, okay. I guess going into the technical of things too for you, like when things are just feeling good in a game, and you're just like, ooh, I'm cooking. The game is flowing. The flow state. What's that look like for you?
I love it. I love Malik Monk getting on, those heaters where he knocks down 4 threes in a row, and
Yes.
Malik means king in Arabic. I don't even know where that came from.
It's so good.
I don't.
My dad says that all the time now. Yeah, so thanks.
The Kings fans say it all the time.
Yeah, or Darren's not with us anymore, but first name Darren, last name him.
Yep.
It's the way I am when I'm at home watching the game with my wife, and I yell at the television saying stuff like that during Kings games or any other broadcasts. It's an awesome feeling to watch a player get on a roll. Like the whole hotter than fish grease thing. It was, I think, 2014. Steph Curry had a 54-point game in Madison Square Garden. And out of nowhere, I just spit that out, and like, hey, that was all right. That was like, well, what did you careful of what you say next time?
Yeah.
It's being able to just. I'm a product of like hip hop culture and where I'm from, and I like that flavor to come out and be on the broadcast and connect with some of the players who share the same playlist too sometimes.
Yeah. Being yourself. That's the biggest thing.
Be your authentic self, man. Yeah.
I did want to ask you this because you mentioned playing ball, and we don't need to bury the lead. I mean, you could hoop. You played in college.
We buried the lead.
Can you give us a Mark Jones scouting report?
Ooh.
Who's your NBA comp?
Oh, wow. I would say like a Drew Holiday. Like could score it a little bit.
You could
and
both
was a pretty good
sides.
defender. Yeah. Like I love Drew Holiday's game. Like could score, but
Yep.
had straps, had seatbelts for guys who were trying to score on him. York University. I enjoyed my 4 years of playing there. I had the opportunity to represent Canada in international basketball competitions, and that keeps me connected.
Yeah.
I still stay in contact with a bunch of my old collegiate teammates, Bill and Enzo, who like me stopped playing a long time ago, but we get together at Summer League every year in Las Vegas and talk about old glory days and times.
It's the best thing about basketball.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when you had a teammate in your life, and and you really have that hoop head mentality. Like you're gonna connect forever.
Yeah.
I do have to ask though, defensively, what made you such a great defender? If you're gonna throw out Drew Holiday,
just I hated people scoring on me. And that's why I get mad when I see blow-bys out there. I didn't like anybody to score on me.
Yeah.
I can remember one time in high school, we always played up. I always played up, and there was a senior, Mike, who just always would just eat my lunch. And one day I said no more, and I went out there thugging a little bit, but it felt good. Then I did it without the thugging part, and I ended up stopping him a little bit. And that kind of turned me on to defense.
Did you ever have like any like cheap moves that you would do? Like I used to pinch back fat when someone would post up on me.
Crazy.
I mean, I was a
Crazy.
shorty. What was I supposed to do?
Honestly, the end of game, needing to draw a foul to get to the free throw line, grab the guy's uniform, fall back like he runs you over, and look at the ref and say charge and beg for a call.
Damn, he has
that was
that
my
in
one
him.
trick. Yeah.
Mark has it all.
Yeah.
That's the other
Yeah.
thing. You tell stories, but
Yeah.
you also just know the game. I mean, you're calling out plays, you're calling
Yeah.
out sets, and so no, that's the one thing. I just you're such a great human being, but I
appreciate you
appreciate
guys.
so much your love for the game. And you know, as someone who watches a ton of basketball, hearing your passion for it on a nightly basis, it's just a joy.
I
and
appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with
Yeah.
us, sharing your story a
Seriously.
little bit.
Love to do
and-
this again. I'd talk forever with you guys. You
Oh,
guys
we
are
could talk
fantastic,
forever.
man. This is
Yeah.
fun. I'm really blessed to be the curator of the Kings culture right now behind the microphone, and better days ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better days ahead is coming.
Well, we're happy we have you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So
guys.
one and only Mark Jones.